Let me tell you a story about someone who should never have been trusted. In a quiet neighborhood, a family owned a two-story house. They lived upstairs, while the ground floor was always rented out to tenants. Most of the time, it was students or small families, people who stayed for a year or two before moving on. Nothing unusual. But one winter, a woman came to live there, alone. She told them she worked late shifts, so they didn't expect to see her much. She was polite, soft-spoken, and yet something about her made the family uneasy. They couldn't explain it, but the air felt heavier since she moved in. The staircase creaked strangely at night. Lamps flickered when her flat went dark, and there was always the smell of incense smoke drifting through the cracks in the floorboards. At first, the family ignored it, until they started hearing whispers. It began softly, muffled voices beneath the floor when no one else was home. Then came the knocking, rhythmic, deliberate, a knock-knock-knock at impossible hours just when they were about to sleep, and she, the tenant, always seemed awake when no one else was. Strange visitors slipped into the flat at midnight. Some nights, the sound of chanting rose through the floor. On others, the house itself seemed to hum, as though the walls carried secrets. Still, the family kept quiet. She paid her rent on time, and they did not want trouble. But deep down, every one of them felt something was wrong. And then one day, she vanished. No warning, no goodbye. She locked the flat, left the keys behind, and was simply gone. Relieved, the family thought it was over. But when the father finally went downstairs to inspect the empty flat, he realized she had not left them in peace. The rooms were bare. Dust hung heavy in the air. But the kitchen was different. In the middle of the cracked floor tiles, he saw it. A circle, drawn carefully in chalk. So faint it might have gone unnoticed if he hadn't stepped closer. And inside that circle was a doll. It was no ordinary toy. Its fabric was stained and gray. Its eyes had been stitched shut with black thread, and long, cruel needles pierced its body. The father froze. His chest tightened as dread seeped into him. Against all reason, he stepped forward. His shoe crossed the chalk line. And that was when it happened. Something invisible seized him. His hair yanked backward so violently his neck nearly snapped. His breath choked off as unseen fingers closed around his throat. He staggered, clawing at empty air, eyes bulging as he gasped for life. There was no one there. No one. Yet he was being dragged backward, strangled by nothing. Upstairs, his family heard his strangled cries. They rushed down and found him thrashing inside the kitchen. They grabbed his arms and pulled with all their strength. And the moment his body was yanked across the circle's edge, it stopped. The hands were gone. The force released him. He collapsed to the floor, wheezing, his throat raw with red welts where nothing had touched him. Silence filled the kitchen. The circle remained. The doll sat perfectly still, its blank face tilted toward the ceiling. No one dared touch it. That night, the father could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt those invisible fingers pressing into his throat again. He swore he heard the floorboards creak beneath their room, as though someone still walked in the flat below. The next morning, they brought a local elder to see it. He refused to step into the kitchen. His face went pale, and he said only one thing: "This is not hers. This was given to her. She was using it. And it is still waiting." They asked him what they should do. "Burn it, bury it." He shook his head. "It does not matter what you do. That thing belongs to the house now." For weeks, they kept the kitchen locked. No one entered. But the house was not quiet. At night, they heard the chalk scratching again, as if someone was redrawing the circle. The smell of incense returned, seeping beneath their doors. And sometimes they swore they heard the faint cry of a child echoing from the empty flat below. The father grew ill. His throat burned constantly, and clumps of hair fell from his head as if still pulled by invisible hands. He told his family he dreamed of the doll every night, its stitched eyes opening slowly, black thread unraveling as something inside struggled to see him. Finally, the family fled the house. They never returned. The flat was abandoned, the kitchen locked away, and the doll, they say it's still there, still inside its chalk circle, waiting for someone foolish enough to step too close. And the woman who once lived there? No one ever saw her again.